What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp of the Wrestling Inc. podcast here with a legend of MMA and professional wrestling, both. Ken Shamrock. Ken, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, pro wrestling and MMA, long married concepts, and you were one of the guys that made them such a married concept, and you have a big fight coming up at Bellator 149 just later this month, and it's against a guy, from what I understand, you've been wanting this third fight with Royce Gracie for a while. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been 20 years I've been trying to get this fight to happen, and pretty much gave up the last 10 years. Just never thought it was going to happen, and then out of nowhere, I put on a bad fight against Kimbo, and all of a sudden this guy comes out of the woodwork saying that, yeah, he'll fight me now. So I must have looked pretty bad in that Kimbo fight for him to come out and want to fight me.
Was that a surprise to you that he was willing to fight you even after the Kimbo fight?
Yeah, it was. It was a shock because like I said, I really thought that, that fight was not going to happen. I tried to put it together before that many times, and it just never happened. And I just figured that, that's just one of those things that we'll never know. And so I was really pleasantly surprised that he stepped up that quickly because it happened real quick.
Yeah, there were many that speculated over the last 20 years that, Royce Gracie, he had that great run in his first few UFCs. Then he got a taste of wrestling, and he met you the second time around, and it didn't go as well for him as it did the first time. And then he made that exit from the UFC and didn't come back for 10 years. What do you think led to that? Do you think that had something to do with why he was so willing to just go to Japan?
Yeah, I think that they kind of seen the writing on the wall that the athletes competing in the UFC then were all catching on to defending the gi, defending the takedowns, and being able to stay up on their feet longer and being able to land more punches. And Royce has made it no bones about it that he does not like to get hit. So I think that had a lot to do with the exiting of the Gracies. Was they just saw that, the American fighters, the American people were starting to go, you know what, enough of this stuff. We're going to figure this out and start fighting our way. And that's what they've done. They've really figured out how to stay on their feet and strike, and also be very good on the ground at the same time, being well-versed.
Well, unfortunately for them, they ran into a guy named Kazushi Sakuraba in Japan, too, who also employed many of the same things, that catch wrestling background. Now, I mean, there were a lot of weird things said about Kimbo. You had the people coming out and saying, oh, this was a fixed fight and things like that. I personally didn't see anything of that nature. What do you say to those people?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. If you look at my forehead, I had a gash in my forehead that went down to my bone. So that's a heck of a work.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can understand why people would say that, because I felt, in my own opinion, and I guess everybody has their own opinion, was that I really believe that fight was stopped too soon. I believe I took one shot, a good solid shot. I was dazed. I was not hurt. It wasn't like I was flat on my back quivering. I felt like I was still ready to fight. And in MMA, I always believe that if a fighter knocks another fighter down, he has to finish them. I mean, that's what MMA is about, is that you don't just knock somebody down and you get a 10 count or they stop the fight. You got to finish them. And I didn't see that happen, and I was really disappointed in that. So I kind of understand where some of the people would look at it and go, well, yeah, but that just didn't look right, because it was stopped so quickly. I had control over him. I had to choke him. And so for people that haven't heard the explanation, I want to explain a little better to them, was that when I trained for a fight, you're rolling around with somebody, you catch them in a move, and you let go. You keep going. But you don't just stop and stand up and start over. You just let go and you keep going. And this is what we talk about, ring rust and things that happen when you're not in the ring for a long time. That's exactly what happened. The fight went exactly the way I wanted it to. I took Kimbo down. I knew he would roll to his belly. I knew I would throw the hooks in. I knew I would choke him. And I knew he would tap. And all those things happened. The only problem is that then I became the referee. I ended up calling the fight when he tapped my elbow real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I eased up. And, that's not my job. My job is to finish a fight. And I didn't do that. But that comes with some ring rust, not fighting for a long time. He tapped quickly. It would be like I was training and I let up. I was allowed him to get his chin down and he was able to continue on fighting. So those are mistakes that I made. And so people would have an understanding of why when I had it in so deep and I had him there and what the reason was for him being able to get out of that. Well, that was it. I let him out. And it was only because when he tapped, that quick tap on my elbow, I eased up and allowed him to get his chin down. Once he got his chin down, I really never got back into the fight thinking that, the fight's still going. I always believed in my mind as the fight was going that, he tapped, John's going to stop.
Yeah.
So I never really got on track again after that. So again, that was mistakes on my part. I take full responsibility for them. I paid for it. But now I'm back to be able to erase that mistake and be able to move on.
What was your reaction when Bellator first approached you about the Kimbo fight and then offered you this Royce Gracie fight even after the loss?
I was really very happy about that because I am in the back of my mind. I was thinking, man, that was pretty poor. The fans are disappointed. I know I'm disappointed in myself, and I didn't know if I was going to get another opportunity, and I was very disappointed in that. But it was all on me though. I mean, I was the one that made the mistake, so I was very disappointed. But I was very, very happy that I was able to get this fight, and not just get this fight, but get a main event fight that is so popular and is going to be probably another record-breaking numbers and be a part of that again. So, yeah, I'm happy, and I want to make sure that I let my fans know that I'm very, very happy for the support that they're giving me on this, even after that loss. And, that's not going to happen again. I promise you that. This fight will be different. I knocked off some ring rust. I'm going out to win this fight, and there will be no opportunity for any mistakes to happen because I'm going in there and I'm going in to finish the fight in the first round. If that doesn't happen, I'll go in and finish it in the second or third, whatever it takes. But I'm going in there and I'm going in to fight. Just as my fans know, I leave nothing to chance. I will either go out on my sword or I will go out sticking the sword. So either way, I'm going in.
So how much longer do you think you have in this sport? I mean, you've been around since literally the very beginning of the UFC, and even before that.
Yeah, I guess it's just basically on my health. As long as I'm able to keep putting the training in, I struggle in my training at times, but the thing I always look at is that if you keep getting up and you keep moving forward, you're going to be successful. When you get knocked down, you get up, you keep going. If you have something happen, you work around it, you keep going. And that's the way I've lived my life. I mean, I'm not going to stop something because somebody says it's time. I'm going to stop it when my body says it's over, or when the fans basically said, we're done watching you. Like there's no more fans wanting to see me fight. So if those are the two things that I look at. If I'm healthy and the fans still want to see me fight, then you'll see me walking them.
You also have a rich history in professional wrestling, including a very memorable WWE run back when they were the WWF. Your departure was kind of abrupt. What happened there? I mean, you were in the middle of a program with Chris Jericho, and all of a sudden you're gone.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff happening there. I know for me, I kind of hit this wall where it seemed like I was on the road so much that I was missing my kids' football games and wrestling games, and I was missing the dances they were going to. It just seemed like I was missing so much of my young kids growing up. And at the time I had 5 kids. And so it really hurt me to miss that many things. So I felt that was a good time for me to try to figure out a way to stop being on the road so much and be with my family. We had a lot of different things that were coming up in my family that was tearing it apart. So I made a decision that I needed to back off from wrestling and I needed to stay with my family and try to work things out. And so that's the reason why those things happened. It was because it just seems like I spent so much time on the road that I was I missed my kids growing up, and I couldn't deal with that.
Something that I have wondered literally since it happened. Were you ever approached about the Brawl for All, and how did you feel about that coming from your background?
Yeah, when I got approached about it, I was disappointed. It took me a long time to be able to build trust with the different people that I would walk in the ring with and wrestle with. And then when I was asked to do that, I was like, okay, $50,000, you know, it just didn't seem right to me that I would go into this tournament style fighting thing. I was a professional. It's what I did. And then go in there and beat these amateur guys up for 50.
Isn't that weird to think now about how that was even allowed, first off, but considering that they would have asked you to face a guy like just anybody who had no amateur experience even.
Yeah, I felt, and that's why I didn't do it. I felt like, why are you asking me to do this? Because I've just come into pro wrestling and I'm trying to learn this craft and I'm moving in the right direction. And now you want me to go in there and actually do a complete 360 and now beat these guys up for $50,000 when I'm, normally used to making $500,000 to $1 million, and you want me to do it for $50,000. And it was just none of it made any sense to me.
What did you think of their rule set? Like it was very unusual.
Yeah, it was like training, and that's the kind of training that we do. Where you put your gloves on and you kick and you punch, the guy takes you down, and then you let him back up again, and you go again. So it would be nothing more than just what we did for training, and so it was really weird. But I seen why they did it, because it would make it a little bit more exciting. And you don't have somebody come in there and just lay on each other on the ground for 5 minutes, because that's what would happen. Guys would get tired and they'd lay on each other. So it really forced them to stand up and throw punches. And really that's what would make it exciting. So it was kind of like a tough man contest where you force guys to stand up and throw punches. But again, it was very uncomfortable for me when they asked me to do it. I was very uncomfortable with that.
I'll never forget Steve Blackman. It was like a video game against Mark Merrow where he just take him down, let him up, take him down, let him up. Were you surprised how the tournament played out with Bart Gunn displaying this knockout power? Was that a surprise to you?
Yeah, because anytime you see guys go in there and fight one another and you don't know anything about these guys, you're always going to have that one or two guys that you're going to go, wow, he can hit hard. Somebody's always going to have that sneaky power. And it would just happen to be him. But a lot of guys dropped out too. You had Steve Blackman who didn't want to do it anymore. So it was kind of different, and to mix it in with pro wrestling during that time, I think put a lot of stress on those guys, because one, they're really trying to focus on what's happening, but then second, they're trying to do this fight, which is real. They're going in there knocking each other's heads off, and then they got to go back out there, and then they got to do their job. So it was definitely a confusing time for a lot of those guys, and I felt bad for them because I kind of felt what they were feeling, because they're not professional fighters, and they're going in and doing this in a mixture of their job. So it put a lot of pressure on them to perform and to do both, and so I felt bad for them.
It's terrifying to think that they promoted that when you and Dan Severn were on that roster. To think of what could have happened to some of those guys, it could have been a lot worse. Have you had any talks with the WWE over the last 15, 16 years? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, there's been, not too long ago, I was contacted about some royalty stuff, where they were going to make some more stuff of my action figures and stuff. So I've had contact with them, and mostly on that end of it, but not really with the talent. But I've always put out there my intentions. If I could do what I wanted to do, I would definitely would love to have another run at that heavyweight title, because I believe that it was cut short, mostly on my part, because I was in a bad spot at that time with my family, and I felt that everything was slipping away from me when it came to my family. So I needed to fix that. But I felt like that I didn't get that opportunity to really get a good run for that title. I won everything else but that heavyweight title. So that's something that's always in the back of my mind. Kind of like the Royce Gracie fight, you try to get it for 10 years and it doesn't happen and you're going, well, that's not going to happen. Well, here I am fighting him. So maybe after the Royce Gracie fight, maybe someone will offer me a shot at that heavyweight title sometime.
One heavyweight title you did win was the NWA TNA World Heavyweight title. You were important to their initial run, and they put the faith in you and made you the NWA World Champion. How did that feel, and why did you end up walking away from TNA?
Yeah, anytime something like that where you're carrying a strap for a company, it's a good feeling to know that there's some trust and faith in you. To be able to help them keep bringing in fans and people to watch your show. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised that I was given that opportunity and very appreciative of it. So it was a short time there, but I thought very exciting. And I'm surprised, really shocked that they didn't do more because I thought the concept they had and the direction they were going was very good. It just seemed like it just never got finished.
Why did you end up leaving TNA?
I'm not sure. I know they came to me after I had gotten the strap and they wanted me to drop it to, I forget, some kid there that was actually a very good worker. I didn't have
Ron Killings?
What's that?
Was it Ron Killings?
Yeah, I believe so. Good kid. And so it just seemed like they just stopped using me. I know I had a fight coming up where I was training for a fight and I couldn't be there all the time. So I'm almost positive that that's what it was, that they just needed guys there that were going to be there full time. But when I joined them, I said that, I'm still fighting and I don't mind doing this, every now and then, but I can't commit 100% because I am training for fights at different times. And so going into it, that was the deal. And then once it happened, I guess they saw that it was taking up way too much time and they needed me there more in order to have some of these angles work out. So it wasn't like it was an angry departure. We both were, happy with what each had done. So I was satisfied with them. I think they were satisfied with me. It just, unfortunately, at that time with me fighting and all that, it just wasn't going to work.
You had a kind of storied, estranged relationship with your brother Frank for a while, and there was this fantastic documentary on Spike a while back that had you two sitting down and talking about things. It was just a fantastic watch. It was so intriguing. What are things between you and Frank like today?
Well, Frank's gonna be working my corner for this fight.
Oh wow!
So I've got Guy Mesger, who is the Dallas connection for the Lions Den, who's been with me for a very long time, great trainer. I'm up here in Dallas actually working with Guy. Frank will be at the fight working my corner along with Guy Mesger and Dave, a boxing friend of mine who's very good with working with boxing and footwork. And my two kids, Sean and Ryan, both them will be there working my corner. So I got a really good corner, great corner, motivational and also skill-wise, a lot of knowledge there. So it's good, and it's great to have my brother, Frank, back in the mix. I'm glad that we were able to put aside our differences and be able to move forward in life.
You think he's ever going to get back in the ring or the cage again? I mean, I know there have to be offers out there.
Well, obviously, yeah, there are offers out there. Frank's a great fighter. He's great marketing. He's, people love him. And so I'm sure there's offers out there for him to fight. But the problem with him is that he has to make sure it's something that he wants to do and that he's healthy enough to do it. I know that he was dealing with some different type of issues he had going on with his health. Nothing serious, but stuff that would, he needed to get kind of worked out and figure out what he wants to do moving forward. So he has his options out there, no doubt.
So yeah, Bellator 149, February 19th. This is a big card. I mean, you all have Kimbo fighting Dada 5000 on the card. This is going to be it's so interesting to watch this and how Bellator I think it was Chavo Guerrero who was talking about a wrestling show, and he says everybody says they're different, but nobody's different. Bellator is different, and I think that's really helped them. What can fans who have maybe never checked out Bellator expect from Bellator 149?
Well, I can tell you right now, and just being involved with the movement that Scott Coker is bringing to the Bellator and to the fans, is entertainment. If you're a wrestling fan, people love to be entertained, and they love the different storylines that go on in pro wrestling. If you're a fight fan, you love good fights. But there's a million good fights out there. There's a lot of guys out there fighting right now. Why do you want to watch this particular fight? Because it has a storyline, because it has some entertainment value to it. Scott Coker is bringing this movement to MMA where not only do you got a fight happening in the ring, but there's also a story going on in the ring also with the two guys that are fighting. And he brings those storylines out to the public so that people know the reason why they're fighting. And a lot, he's got young fighters that are coming up that are great fighters. A lot of guys are moving from the UFC over to Bellator.
Yeah.
So it's not like you just got these type of fights that are entertainment, but you also got great fighters moving up the ranks at the same time. So I think he's got a great mixture of the entertainment aspect of the world that we live in, and also the realism and the technical strategies and how good a fighter is mixed in with the entertainment. So I think he's done a great job, and it's a great balance. I love the direction, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Just a couple more before we go. You mentioned this, but they announced a huge signing last week with Ben Henderson, former UFC champion. He had moved to welterweight and won 2 fights there. Now he's going to be competing for their welterweight championship. What did you think of this, and how important is this for Bellator's momentum?
Well, I think it's just showing you. It goes to show you that Scott Coker and his design is starting to play out. You're starting to see the direction of where Bellator is going, the success that Bellator is having, and you're starting to see, when you start seeing fighters recognize that, then you know that your direction is going in the right direction. Because you got guys going from an organization that is paying the most money right now, and it's not what they should be getting paid, but at least they're paying the more money than anybody else is capable of paying right now. So they're moving from that to ones that are on their way up. So once you have that combination of guys going, you know what, I'm going to take maybe less right now because I feel like the place I'm going, I'm going to make more in the long run. That's a great rumor to have started for fighters amongst themselves to be able to be talking to one another about moving from one to another, going, yes, I understand they're not where they need to be, and yes, I understand I'm not going to make what I need to make as far as what I'm getting now, but I see the future that they're going, that I will make more money in the future. That right there is a great thing to start happening. Bellator is going in the right direction. And it's going to be very interesting to see after this fight with me and Royce Gracie. It's going to be interesting to see where Bellator goes from there, because I think there's a lot of doors that are going to open wide open, and that you're going to start seeing them really make a move, not in the pay-per-view industry, but in the TV industry, of really starting to take a whole lot of market shares from the UFC.
Are you still actively taking pro wrestling bookings as well?
I know I'm doing one in England. That after this fight, I'm going to be going to England and doing a tour up there, and I'll be doing a pro wrestling event up there. So yes, I am, but very selective ones. I don't just want to do it to do it. It has to make sense to me. So hopefully, like I said, in the future, after all this stuff's said and done and the smoke clears, and I'm successful in my endeavors, that there'll be some opportunities out there for me in pro wrestling, because it's something that I didn't quite get to finish because I had to deal with some family issues during those times. So I'd love to go back and be able to really finish up some bookings with pro wrestling.
Where can fans follow you on social media, and where can they buy that awesome Ken Shamrock shirt you're wearing? That thing is fantastic.
You go to my website at kenshamrock.com. And that's where all my information is. I got my Twitter on there, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, man. I got it on there. And just go to my site and you'll find everything you need along with the shirts. Also the different type of businesses and opportunities that I have on there. Also, you get to go find those things out. So KenShamrock.com has got the whole kit and caboodle there. Go check it out.
Anything else you want to tell the fans before we go?
Yeah, appreciate the support that I've had over the years. I know you hear people say it all the time, but man, this comes from my heart. I would not be where I'm at today and the opportunities that I have at my age right now if it wasn't for the fans. The fans have really supported me over the years, and it doesn't go unnoticed with me. And I really, truly appreciate that. And this fight's for my fans out there, for the ones that have been told, no, you can't do it, you're too small, you're too short, you're too old. Whatever the case may be, where someone has told them that they can't do something, this one's for them.
Well, guys, we definitely encourage you all to check out Ken Shamrock's official website and also Bellator 149, February 19th, Spike TV. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a great time. Ken, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate having me on. God bless.